So, you're thinking about moving to Palm Coast, Florida, but you want to know more about the cost of living here? That's exactly what we're going to cover in today's video. We're going to take a look at the cost of living compared to both the state average as well as the national average. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then stick around because we're going to get after it right now. Hi, my name is Stephanie Schulis with Keller Williams Realty. Thanks so much for joining us today. If this is your first time to the channel, please make sure to tap that button below to subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications so you can be the first to be notified anytime we put out brand new content all about moving to Palm Coast, Florida, and living in Palm Coast, Florida and the surrounding areas. We get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you looking to make the move to Palm Coast every day, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking of moving in the next 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, and we'll do everything we can to help you make a smooth move to Palm Coast, Florida. Today, we are talking about the cost of living in Palm Coast, Florida. All of the data that we're talking about comes from the Cost of Living Index, which is published by the Council for Community and Economic Research, and it was last published in March 2024. So, on average, the cost of living in Palm Coast, Florida is 12% lower than the state of Florida and 13% lower than the national average. That can be a big difference, especially if perhaps you're retiring and moving to a fixed income. That 12% or 13% difference will obviously have a big impact on your annual budget. But let's take a closer look into that. When we look at housing, which factors in both renting and buying, Palm Coast is 29% lower than the average in Florida and is also 29% lower compared to the national average. When we're talking about food costs, Palm Coast is 5% lower than the state average and 7% lower than the national average. Healthcare, Palm Coast is 2% lower than the state and 7% lower than the national average. Transportation, Palm Coast is 14% lower than the state and 13% lower than the national average. Goods and services, 8% lower than the state average and 12% lower than the national average. Not everything's lower though. Utilities are higher. Monthly utilities are 19% higher than the state average and 17% higher than the national average, which again, overall, the cost of living in Palm Coast is 12% lower than the state and 13% lower than the national average. Housing is the most significant expense for most American households. The average rent in Palm Coast is $17.91 a month, and the average home price is a little over $330,000. The average energy bill per month in Palm Coast is $244.93, and the average phone bill is $196. Food costs. Your average cost of bread here is a little over $3. A steak is over $13. Bananas, something we go through a lot in my house, 78 cents per banana. Milk is over $7. Eggs, luckily that price has come down, but you're looking at about $4.30. And like with everything, especially in food, you do get the option to shop around. So these costs are averages, and the cost is going to be very different when you're comparing, say, a Publix to an Aldi's. So definitely something to keep in mind if these costs are a little alarming. What we've talked about today is comparing Palm Coast to the state of Florida average, as well as the national average. That may not be all that helpful for you. What I've had customers love doing is looking at the Forbes cost of living calculator. You can Google it, Forbes cost of living calculator. And what's fantastic about that is it allows you to put in the closest major city to where you are now. So for example, if you're coming from New York City, you can put that in, put the moving to city as Palm Coast, and see what comes up, and you're able to compare and get more of an apples to apples to what you're used to, which helps you create a budget so they can be better prepared when you move to Palm Coast. If you live in more of a rural area, just know that you do have to put in more major cities. And so you might have to do some kind of manual mental adjustments to better fit your situation if you find and disagree with what they're quoting as the closest city. If you have any questions on the cost of living in Palm Coast, how that might affect you, or any questions at all about moving to Palm Coast, please know you can always give us a call, shoot us a text, send an email, or you can, of course, leave a message in the comments below. We love hearing from you guys. That's it for this video. We'll see you on the next one.